Health, Environment, Social Services Committee. I'm Brandon Smith, I'm the committee. We'll have everybody else introduce themselves shortly. There's a few items of protocol that I'm going to deal off. First of all, for the folks on the line who are participating remotely, the practice of the meeting is to conduct the meeting remotely with all attendees' cameras on. So please try to leave your cameras on. Unfortunately, at this meeting, we're unable by technology to give you the floor to speak, but in other meetings, you would have that opportunity. To make it appropriate discussion and voting process for the people who come here in attendance, I would make it topics, comments by committee members, board members, and the general public. And I would just ask each person who's participating here in the room, when participating, to participate in the meeting by using plain language, speak in a moderate tone, and frequently ask if you're speaking loud enough. We don't have any slides, I won't read that part. And before we get into the official introductions of everyone, I'm just going to note a couple of things about the COVID-19 requirements for this meeting, for those folks who are here in person. Specifically, this is an in-person meeting. All meeting attendees over the age of 2 who are medically able to tolerate a face covering must wear a face covering at all times during this meeting, regardless of their vaccination status. There are additional face coverings to be provided if needed. And all meeting attendees are to remain 6 feet apart here in person, regardless of their vaccination status as well, too. Please do not continue to attend this meeting if you've experienced any symptoms of COVID-19 within the past 10 days, had a fever of 100 degrees or greater, a new cough, a new loss of taste or smell or shortness of breath, if you tested positive within the past 10 days, or if you've been in close contact with anyone while they have COVID-19 within the past 10 days, and are required to quarantine under existing CDC guidance. So from this point, I'm going to give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves, and we can start. I'm all right.
Hi, I'm Jessica Durst, I'm the secretary. Hello, I'm Councilwoman Nadia, I'm a board member.
I'm Councilor Cup.
So, would it be correct to say, Mr. You have 4 committee members present at this time? Okay, in that sense, we do not have a quorum. However, we can try to commence some other aspects of our meeting, and we can take a motion on the agenda at a later point during the meeting. I'm going to suggest that we start off with our discussion of district needs, and is this potentially our speaker who has arrived? Okay.
Hello, welcome. Yes,
We're very happy to be joined this evening by Ms. Josephina Vestidas. Thanks so much for coming. Please take a moment to get ready, but we're really interested to hear your presentation. You're from Center for Community Alternatives. I believe you're providing services to individuals in the court system. Are you ready to get started? Or? Okay, I'll give you the floor to briefly describe what your organization is about and any support we can give to you.
Sure. So good evening.
My name is Jessica and I am the Director of Behavioral Health Services at the Center for Community Alternatives. I'm here today to request a letter of support for our program's goal of adding opioid treatment services to our existing substance use outpatient program. I'll start with a brief overview of who we are. CCA is not a not-for-profit agency that protects the criminal justice population. CCA was founded in 1981 and is considered one of the first community-based alternative to incarceration programs in New York State. It was our belief then, as it is now, that the solution to crime lies in communities, not in people. We have submitted our work to strengthening the connection between community and the individual. A caring, healthy community is an important part of crime prevention and individual rehabilitation. TCA has been in downtown Brooklyn area since 1999. Our downtown Brooklyn office is located at 25 Chapel Street. The building has security 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that is located in the lobby. The NYPD is located in the same building with offices for the traffic police 2 floors down from us. At 25 Chapel, we offer an array of services, including drug treatment. Crossroads is the name of our licensed substance use outpatient program. We offer evidence-based treatment for substance use disorders and follow a common forms care approach. We serve individuals ages 16 and older who have some form of criminal justice involvement. Our clientele stems from a long-standing relationship with our referral sources, including Brooklyn-based attorneys, judges, probation, and parole. Crossroads has been able to add services throughout the years with the goal of being able to provide background care that meets an individual's specific needs. We hope to continue this growth, particularly in addressing the opioid epidemic, which has had a devastating impact on our city. In my career, I have seen many clients succumb to this powerful addiction, but I've also seen success stories of clients who have committed to taking the steps necessary to save their lives. Jose is one such case who was referred to as bipolar. He was already enrolled in a methadone maintenance program but did not feel he was receiving all the support he needed, which was much more than just medication. Jose struggled at first when he arrived to us because it was difficult for him to attend both programs. However, the more he engaged and opened himself up to the services we offer, the more his attendance issues dissipated. Jose also participated in employment services, including going to job fairs with our employment specialist. Toward the end of his time with us, he obtained a full-time position working in food service. Jose successfully completed our program in September 2019, but I'm happy to report he's doing well, in remission from heroin use since March 2019. He also completed his parole mandate without further criminal justice involvement. Jose's story is like many others in that clients feel that they could be receiving more support and services than what their existing programs offer. This can lead to program fatigue and needing to travel to more than one location or forfeiting the additional services altogether. That's why CCA is seeking to add opioid treatment to our already existing substance use outpatient program. The wraparound services we offer is considerable. These services include individual counseling for substance use disorders, mental health counseling, employment services, health education services, HIV and Hep C testing, toxicology testing, anger management and domestic violence classes, and court advocacy services. All of these existing services will be available to clients in need of opioid treatment. So what will this program look like? First off, we are a small program compared to larger ones that serve hundreds of clients a day. We expect we would serve between 50 to 75 clients per day. That would give us up to 20 clients in the office at any given time for dosing or group. Methadone dosing will be offered during a 7-hour span, 6 days a week. Hours of service will be 6:30 to 1:30 p.m. with peak hours from 6:30 to 8:30 and a trip past that time frame. Meeting facilities are inside of our office, and when clients need to line up for dosing, we have access to a long hallway on our floor that our landlord has made available to us. Our landlord has given us his full support for this addition because we have been a model tenant with no incidents. As far as growing the program, our goal is to have a gentle ramp up. This will increase over time but allow us to resolve any issues that arise during the process. Again, we are a small program, so in terms of numbers, our goal is to serve 100 people the first year and serve 150 to 200 people after that. As far as staffing, medical staff, including a medical director and nursing staff, will be hired to provide these services. In terms of security, although there is building security at 25 Chapel, we will be hiring additional security to ensure the flow of traffic moves steadily. And both medical professionals and security will be present at all times during business hours. We need to do more to address the opioid epidemic. TTA believes that this is the way to do so. We want to expand our focus of prevention and recovery to include opioid treatment. This will allow us to treat addiction with a combined medical and therapeutic approach. Currently, we're in the initial stages of applying to OASIS to add this service to our existing operating license. OASIS does require community board approval in order to move forward, and that is why I'm here to request this letter of support to bring this quality service to our community. It is also our hope to become an active participant in the community board, attending these meetings, and be responsive to any issues that may arise. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Before I open it up to the committee questions, I just have one question myself. You mentioned you're going to be in the process of hiring nursing and medical staff. About how many staff do you plan to hire, and what will be the basis of everyone's qualifications?
So for the medical staff, we would have an MD that we currently have on staff, who oversees our outpatient program and will be the medical director of this additional service as well. We would need an RN for additional prescribing services whenever, let's say, the MD is not there. And then we would need LPN, additional nurse to support. So it would be 2 to 3 maximum nurses.
And you said the volume was, you were aiming to treat 100 to 150 per year, okay. Okay, great. Excellent. Questions from members of the committee?
To me, this seems like a great idea. I'll say I'm not. What I'm curious about, without undermining your ask, is what would you anticipate pushback to this being? Like crowding outside the facility, or is it mostly safety concerns that you tend to hear about?
Well, we have, in this process, we have met with a lot of different maintenance programs.
Yeah.
And one of the major pushbacks that we have been told that we can expect is the concern of crowds and lingering after the program, which we're very fortunate. First of all, we're not a huge program,
Right.
but also the building does have security that would prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
Plus, we have the security upstairs to avoid any lingering even on the floor.
Sure. Great.
I have one question. Is there any type of crisis management component involved with this, where people will come and stay for a certain number of hours?
So our outpatient program does offer intensive treatment services, and that is OASIS's model of 9 hours a week of required treatment. So our outpatient program will be open to clients that receive methadone. So in the event that there is a need for a higher level of care as far as treatment services, they can be enrolled in intensive outpatient services.
Are you going to offer anything like peer-to-peer counseling?
Yes, as we continue to grow, that has certainly been on our to-do list.
What are peer-to-peer?
Peer-to-peer.
Well, any questions from members of the public or other board members? Okay, great. I'm really happy to announce that we've been joined by our fellow committee member, Mr. John Harrison.
Good evening. How is everybody today?
Great to see you.
Good to see you through the phone.
You've officially made us reach quorum for the meeting, which I think is a wonderful thing, because now I can entertain a motion for a letter of support for this presentation.
Make a motion.
We have a motion from Jessica. I'm going to take Mr. Harrison as a second. Discussion on the motion. I think it's a great opportunity and benefit for the community and the criminal justice system. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It is unanimous. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, now that we have had the opportunity to introduce ourselves and hear from the presentation, I'll entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda. So, second from Jessica. Or Nicole. I just would note that we moved the presentation up to the top of the agenda because of the time. But otherwise, all in favor of the agenda? Aye. Unanimous. Great. Next, we have our presentation on COVID-19. Now, we're very lucky to have a standing member of this committee, Mr. Barry Newmark, who regularly gives this presentation. Mr. Newmark was unfortunately unable to join us tonight in person, though I'm understanding maybe on the line. And I'm going to give this report on his behalf as a result of that because of the technical limitation. So what we like to do in this committee, if you're new or just interested in hearing, is report on the status of the COVID-19 pandemic in our local neighborhoods here, and the breakdown in new cases for the past 7 days consisted of, per 100,000, consisted of 140 in Brooklyn Heights, 140 in Fort Greene, 140 in Gorham Hill, Park Slope, 172 in Williamsburg, and 140 in Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights. Still a pretty high number of total cases per 100,000 for particularly Williamsburg, as well as Fort Greene, Bedford-Stuyvesant. And the overall vaccination rate, while it's approximately 80% in Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, and downtown Brooklyn, and 68% in Gorham Hill, Park Slope, we still are a little bit behind in the neighborhoods of Fort Greene, Bed-Stuy, Clinton Hill, 49%, 52% in Williamsburg, and 57% in Clinton Hill, Prospect Heights. So it does show some progress from where we were when we broke for the summertime, but it still is something that we're going to need to pay attention to because there's a long way to go in this effort still. And I think we've seen when we last broke, it looked like things were getting better in June, but now we've got the Delta variant, and we've got a number of concerns that with the upcoming, with the growing number of cases. We were basically, as a state, having under 300 cases per day as of June, and just today we have still over 1,500 cases statewide. So, any thoughts or comments on the COVID-19 report from the committee or from the board or the public?
Just want to thank Mr. Newmark for consistently collecting the data for us.
Yes, I'd like to thank Mr. Newmark as well too. He prepared the information, and he's been a great committee member to do this. All right. The next item on the agenda is our discussion of fiscal year 23 district needs. Now, given the circumstances of tonight's meeting, I don't think it's really in the best interest to have as fulsome a discussion of district needs as we might otherwise have had. I will say we put together a list of about 25 plus district needs on the community board SharePoint, which are all encompassing of different thoughts and issues that we've seen over the past couple of years. Our committee is very focused on issues of racial disparities in health, climate change, sanitation, awareness about diseases, and promoting really a number of different city services to be restored, as well as a number of incentives that we have around the COVID-19 pandemic. The thing I'll just note for everybody is that the items that we are sharing on the SharePoint are for the 2023 district needs statement. And my own element of concern about this is just that I think some of these needs, particularly the COVID-19 related needs, are needs that have come up very urgently and recently, and it's hard to say that, 2023 is an acceptable deadline for any of them, but yet that's the earliest deadline we can provide for in the statement of district needs. So I think that's about my thoughts about where we are with it. I'd like to have a full discussion of each of the needs and a ranking at our October meeting. And in the meantime, I would encourage the members of the committee and anyone else who's interested to contact either the board office or contribute to the SharePoint that we have online with the district needs for our committee. Does anyone have any other thoughts to add for the state of the district needs conversation? I'm not hearing any at this time. At this time, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from our June 2nd, 2021 meeting. So second, discussion. I just want to thank Nicole and Jessica, both of you substantially. For those who don't know, our June 2nd, 2021 meeting was over 4 hours long and required a considerable element of attention, stamina, and really emotional stability to be able to make it through, because we had quite a number of items of interest that we discussed at that meeting, and I really am grateful to Nicole and Jessica for contributing to those minutes and helping us fine tune them a bit. With this said, with the motion on the table, who's in favor of approving these minutes?
Major favorite.
Any opposed or abstention? Looks like a unanimous motion. Great. All right, we're up to item 7 on the agenda, which is the chairperson's report. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. The HESS committee has had, I would say, an active summer, in that we have been trying to prepare for a really good program this fall of meetings, and really I hope that the rest of the fall, or in October, November, December, we'll have much more involved conversations and presentations, and I hope that you will excuse us at this point where we have our first in-person meeting and we're in kind of a hybrid format in a difficult setting. The later parts of this year are going to feature some discussions that I hope will firmly address issues of climate change, more on the gender or the racial disparities in healthcare and diseases, as well as the COVID-19 crisis, which I don't think we can ever say will go away until it really does go away. So I know that we're going to continue to have this on our mind. We're going to work on the district needs, and we're going to have hopefully a presentation from Con Ed and National Grid and NYSERDA in our upcoming meetings, as well as more attention to COVID-19 and the developing vaccination rates that are particularly in the areas where there are lower rates of vaccination. Those are my main thoughts for chairperson's report. I'm going to defer anything further till next month, given the setting. I will also just say that to the folks who are attending remotely because they didn't feel comfortable coming in person, I really understand where you're coming from, and I support you, and I think the committee supports you in that element as well too. It is a challenge to engage in meeting indoors in the COVID-19 environment. That's where I'll leave it for my chairperson's report. At this point, we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, other business. Does anyone on the committee have any other business they'd like to raise for tonight's meeting?
Actually, I'll just add, if you don't mind, just for folks in the committee and the public, that Brandon and I were talking about adding more climate change initiatives to this. So just something to say that we're thinking about that, and that happens to be my full-time job is in climate change. So I'm thinking on it, but just want to throw that out there. People have specific environmental topics they want to think about, ideally connected to some of those other topics that Brandon mentioned, racial justice, COVID-19, health in our district. We're very open to them. So just wanted to share that they're thinking about that.
Thanks, Jessica. So I know we got a point from our committee member. Maybe you want to respond to Jessica? No, you want to have a point of your own you'd like to make? Is it an item of business or a community forum item? Okay, we're gonna move on to the agenda to community forum, and I'll hear you at that point. The next item on the agenda tonight is community forum. Ms. Einhorn, as a board member and a member of the community, do you have an item that you'd like to raise?
So I thought it would be worth mentioning at this committee that other committee boards have decided that health and safety areas around COVID is not conducive in in-person meetings at this time, and are either refusing to do in-person meetings, sticking to online, or not meeting at all. And I think that as community members or members of the board have those issues, it's a worthwhile discussion to have. And I'm not advocating either way. I think it's just important to note that just because this has been passed down as the rule, doesn't mean we have to accept it. Sometimes there are rules, protocols, procedures, laws that are just unethical, incorrect, or unhealthy in our community. And it's just a worthwhile discussion to have, and considering this is the last committee, I just thought this was a great forum.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think that's a very notable point, and one that I happen to agree with. Were there any other points that we'd like to make in the form of community forum?
Can I comment in the chat that we made tomorrow?
Ms. Church?
Okay, so there's comments in the forum regarding a liquor license that was approved back in June, 275 Park Avenue. There are folks who are on the Zoom, but are asking why the applicant isn't here, because part of the condition was that they would reach out to the community and update the board on their outreach. They haven't been back in touch with the board. I reached out once, and the residents appear to be upset that there was only one meeting, and I'm guessing they feel that their concerns were not heard or addressed. I wanted to check in to see if my comment about what you're saying. I don't see any further comments in the chat.
Okay. Well, I'd be happy to respond to that point because I recall this liquor license from the June 2021 meeting where we had Mr. Bookman was the representative for the applicant, and the applicant was the professional artist who was opening the comedy club at the 275 Park Avenue location. And it was a condition of the approval of that license that the applicant notify the community board about the date and come back to the meeting in September of this year to have a conversation and follow up on whatever the results of the meeting with the community was. I think it was my intention at that time that we could all have a conversation about this at a meeting where people from the public could participate in a manner that just frankly is not possible at this meeting. As a result, and given that I did notice that this application was decided in this manner where the applicant was supposed to come back, I asked the board office prior to this meeting for the applicant as well as the community members to be invited back for our October meeting, which will be the first Wednesday of October, the next meeting of this committee, in addition to the applicant, so that we can follow up again on what the community's concerns are for that application. I wish I could have more of a conversation, and unfortunately, the technology does not allow for it at this point. But I please know to the folks who are listening that it is our intention as a community to hear out these concerns, and I hope that we can do that in a forum where we can actually hear you. Are there any other items for community forum? All right, I'm not hearing any.
There is Shani or Dave, I don't want not having a name. And she says, good evening everyone, I'm sorry this evening to introduce myself. I am Shani or Dave of Liverpool, New York. We are a community and development based on Brooklyn. Our organization facilitates both organize and distribute donation and transplant services to 5 boroughs and a good portion of New York State. I'd very much like to connect with the committee and members of the community to help spread awareness about COVID donation. I can be reached at SDNBR, now spell it, SAUDAIN at liveonny.org. Phone number 646-291-4424.
Thank you very much, Ms. Church.
Mr. Chair, the gentleman requests clarification. There seems to be some confusion between the state of USA and whether the decision has been finalized by the board of directors.
Okay. Now, to the board office, and unfortunately to everybody in attendance, I'm not going to proceed to continue this meeting in a manner where we're having these three-way conversations. I don't think that this is a productive way to solve any concerns. But I will say this, that any application that comes before a community board, when it's incumbent upon a community board to consider the application and vote on it, because without an action by the community board, the applicant can treat the lack of action as an approval in front of the SLA. And this is an action, a license that was brought to our attention in June. Our committee did vote to approve that license. The approval of the committee was presented to the executive committee, and the executive committee voted to approve that license as well. Ms. George, correct me if I'm wrong, but a letter was sent out to the SLA communicating the community board's approval with the conditions that were listed in the meeting.
Yeah.
But with that said, the conditions that are listed in an approval are binding upon an applicant. And if an applicant is found to be in breach of those conditions, then that's a matter that can be reported to the SLA and followed up on. And the SLA has shown in the past an interest in conditions that have been imposed by our committee and by our community board. And if there was it's hard to make a decision or take an action about it at this point. But I'd like to revisit this issue in October at our next meeting, and hopefully it'll be in a format where I can hear directly from each person who is interested in speaking about this issue.
I also recommend for persons who wish to comment further on this item to go on the SLA website and just keep looking at the calendar, because that will be another opportunity
comments directly with the state government.
All right, Mr. Harrison?
What's the application for liquor license approved in the state of
I don't think any of us possesses the ability to say for sure whether the application was approved at the state liquor authority at this moment. I'm not on the state, unfortunately, I'm not a member of the state liquor authority board, but I can tell you it was approved by this committee and the executive committee with the conditions that we listed. Any other items for community forum?
Randy Love, I joined the meeting tonight to meet the committee as well as any community members present. My name is Randy Love and I am with the New York City Youth. You can reach me at randy.love91@journalism.cuny.edu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Church. Having heard this, is there anyone who'd like to make a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second? All in favor?
aye.
I'm not gonna gavel us out, no.